So this is the Trigon AR01. As you guys know, I saw this at the Taipei bike show and I was pretty impressed. So I got in touch with Trigon, asked them to lend me a complete bike for a couple of months. So today I'm going to share with you what I think about this bike, what the pros are, what the cons are, who I think it's for, all that stuff. Let's check it out.
Now, if you were watching the show back in March, you'd see that I ran into this bike at the Taipei bike show and I fell in love. Like, the attention to detail on this bike was crazy and yeah, super interesting. Now, later on, I got in touch with Trigon and arranged for them to send me a review bike. They didn't sponsor this bike. I'm sending this bike back to them on Monday, but I've been riding this bike now for the past 6 months. I've got 3-ish thousand kilometers on it, so I think more than enough to tell you what I think about it. So yeah, let's check it out.
So, Trigon, who are they? They're a brand from Taiwan. Obviously, most of the brands I cover here are from mainland China. So your Xiamen brands or your Guangdong brands or whatever. So these guys, again, similar story to most of the other guys, have a factory, have a bunch of OEM business, but now starting to push their own brand. This thing, when you put the juice through it, it's stiff, but also it's not uncomfortable. So also you have little features like the cutout in the seat post, which I don't know if it's doing anything, but for sure this bike, especially when you don't use these wheels, is a comfortable bike indeed. Anyway, let's go back inside and I'll tell you some more what I think about the bike.
Now, there's a few standout features on this bike that you'll notice straight away. Number one is the dimples. So around the head tube and slightly down the down tube and slightly on the seat tube, there are these slight dimples. They're actually built into the carbon themselves. Now, golf ball style dimples on bikes, is it a thing? Is it useful? I'm not sure. I'm not an aerodynamicist, but they look cool, and it's a small little feature to talk about the bike when you're at the pub with your mates, which, let's face it, that's the most important thing about a bike. Another cool thing about the bike is these little shrouds that they have over the disc brake calipers. So these shrouds are UCI illegal, so if you're racing you need to take those off because the frame itself is UCI legal. So yeah, this is a UCI approved frame, so you can go racing on this, no problems with that. I think another standout feature of the frame when you first look at it is the seat post. So in the seat post there you have this slight like cutout design, give you a little bit more compliance. I don't think it's going to make the world of difference. And if you're using normal wheels, I don't think it's a problem. But with these particular wheels, which I'll talk about later, I do think that extra bit of compliance does help because these particular wheels, the vertical compliance is super low. And so that extra bit of cushioning in the saddle, in the seat post, definitely helps. And finally, the last standout feature of this bike is just, it's a stunning bike. Like, I think this is one of my favorite bikes to look at in a long time. I love the shape, like the visual appeal of the bike, especially in this small size. Lots of bikes, when you get down to small sizes, they start looking very ugly, but this bike, even in this small size, I think looks stunning. Another thing adding to that is the paint job. The paint job on this is also amazing. So in certain places you have like the exposed carbon and it's got like a nice like almost brushed carbon look to it, is the only way I can describe it. But then in the other place with the paint is actually like slightly transparent, so you can see the carbon through the paint as well. And yeah, just super good. If you've been spending a lot of time around carbon frames like I have, and you know what to look for, you can see all the nice attention to details in the carbon. So there's some sections of 3K to reinforce certain holes in for the frame, for the seat post or the seat post clamp and stuff. So it's a good quality frame. I think Trigon know that and they don't want to cover that up, so they kind of leave it out there for everyone to see. So lots of the times when I review bikes on the channel, I'm actually reviewing the frames, but for this, I guess I'm reviewing the bike as a whole because they sent me the complete bike, but I'll try and break it down into components as well. But so the bike they sent me is what you see behind. It's got full brand new Dura Ace 12-speed on there. It's got their new Black Tech wheels, which are crazy. I'll talk more about those separately in a minute. It's also got their integrated Black Tech bar, which is really cool. A beautiful bar to look at. It's got the same kind of like brushed carbon look of the frame. And also the geometry of the bar, super comfortable in your hands. and the kind of like bonus feature of the bar is the shifters you got on there. So I love having shifters for your thumbs when your hands are on the tops, and yeah, that is an awesome feature in my opinion. And I think that's kind of like a theme of this bike and this frame as a whole, is just attention to detail. So I ride lots of bikes, and you can tell the bikes have been designed by people who don't ride bikes, or they're just copying someone else's bike. But there are features on this bike that only a cyclist would think of, and also there are features on this bike that only someone who's like thinking for themselves would think of. Like there are things on this bike that you won't see on other bikes, like the dimples, for example. So just super cool bike. The attention to detail is awesome, and yeah, I could go on for ages about the attention for detail. So focusing kind of on the frame side of things then, it handles amazingly. I don't know the actual weight of the frame itself, because when I got it, it already had the group set on it, but I imagine it's light. But looking around online, it seems like the weight of the frame is like 800, 900-ish grams, so not on the super light side of things, but this is pretty aero, and you do have all the extra features on there, like the multiple bottle cage things and the mountings for the fairings for the discs and all that jazz, so that adds up to some weight, obviously. The bike looks stunning in the flesh, the paintwork. It looks nice, like you got this kind of, you don't know if it's blue or don't know if it's green, like it kind of changes a bit in the light, but when the direct sunlight hits it and you can see through the light, see through the paint into the carbon, it is stunning. You have so many people come up to you when you're riding this and say it's a nice bike, and yeah, it truly is. I think this is one of the best looking bikes that you can buy today. Handling on the bike is also amazing. Again, this is all subjective and every review says the same thing, but for real, like this thing handles super nice. Out of the saddle when you're giving it the beans, it's super responsive. When you're smashing it down the hill, you've got confidence to really smash the brakes at the last second and lean in a bit too fast, and you don't feel like you're going to understeer. You can feel like you can grab the rear brake and kind of steer the bike with a brake kind of thing. It's really confidence inspiring, and again, I hate all this jargon, but it's the only way to talk about it, right? So it's a really confidence inspiring frame. It's pretty stiff, doesn't feel like a noodle at all. Again, I'm only like 52 kilos, so take with a pinch of salt, but yeah, handles amazingly. Out here in Xiamen, we're always in the mountains, and yeah, this thing, it loves the mountains. And again, attention to detail on the frame is great. You got multiple bottle cage mounts. There's even one underneath the down tube. If you want to go on a random multiple day adventure, you can slip some extra water or a toolbox down there or whatever. Tire clearance, we've got 32C, which again is a very modern number to have on a road bike. So yeah, if you did want to take it on a bit of an all-road adventure, it's also for that. So AR stands for all round, and yeah, this is definitely checking the all-rounder boxes. Moving on from the frame to the seat post, I guess. The seat post has been great, like no slippage with it. And like I say, the little head at the top, is it giving you some extra flex? I don't know, but it's better than nothing. It looks cool, and yeah, I think it's better to have it than not have it. Moving to the front of the bike, the cockpit. I love the cockpit. I think the cockpit was like 320 grams when I weighed it, so that's on the lighter side of stuff too. Not as light as the Avian Canary bar that I have these days for like 250 grams, but not as heavy as something like a Fastsports F1S or the EXS handlebar, which are usually around like the 340, 350 grams. So a pretty light handlebar. And the shape of the handlebar, the top is super aggressive aero, like it's got a nice crease in the middle as well, which feels nice when if you've got your hands on the tops, or if you're in the aero position with your arms on the tops too. And like I say, you've got those sneaky little shifters that are built into the back of the bar. Yeah, a super well thought out handlebar, and feels really nice in your hands. They don't cut corners with the bar tape. So it came with, I think it was Sella Italia or Cell Marker. I always get those two mixed up. Super quality bar tape, but this is an expensive bike, which we'll talk about later, so that's no surprise. But one thing that was a crazy omission is there was no GPS mount included with the bike. And I thought it was an omission. I talked to them like, yo, where's the GPS mount? Did you forget to say it? They're like, no, we don't include one. It is what is becoming the standard these days of just 2 bolts underneath the bar, like on the stem area. So you can get a lot of GPS mounts out there. But this is an expensive bike, and not including that, in my opinion, is a bit like, it would cost you like 10 bucks to throw one in there, so just throw one in there, please. So Trigon, if you're listening, do add a GPS mount in there, please. I think people will appreciate it a lot. Let's move on to the wheels. So I think if you buy this as a complete bike from Trigon, it doesn't come with these wheels. It comes with a set of Fulcrum wheels, and in my opinion, that may not be a bad thing. So these wheels look amazing. Like, Just look at it. That's a cool set of wheels, right? Especially on this frame, it goes really well. But these wheels, in my opinion, they're pretty expensive and they're pretty heavy and they're not my favorite wheels in the world. So let's go through it. First of all, they're hookless. Now, I think hookless on road isn't ready yet. You know, often online you'll see stories every day of tires popping off rims, and the rim manufacturers blame the tires blame the rims, etc, etc. I'm sure these are built to the ERTO specs fine, but if you get a tire that's not, it might just pop off the rim. So in my opinion, hookless on road bikes isn't ready yet. But that said, there are people out there riding it. You know, I think there's even World Tour teams riding on it maybe. Zip use hookless, you know, lots of big brands using hookless. So I'm not saying this against Trigon, it's just my opinion. I'm not a fan of hookless. I've got a set of 28mm GP5000 TRs, I think it is, running on here. The setup was pretty easy, you know, they went on fine, all that stuff. They don't leak air. I've got a little bit of sealant in there, it's no problem, but it's always in the back of my mind that they are hookless. Now, one other thing about these wheels is they are super stiff. Now, like I said, they're not super light. They're like 1,500 grams-ish, which for a wheel of this depth in this day and age, but they are super, super stiff. Now, is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? We can talk about this till the cows come home. One thing, in my opinion, that's definitely not a good thing is like the vertical compliance of the wheel. So every wheel, even with normal carbon spokes, like your Hypers and your stuff, which are very, very, very stiff wheels, there is still some flex in the rim. And there's still some flex in like the spoke, in the hub to rim setup kind of thing. And that is, in my opinion, like needed, right? But whereas in here, that, especially the vertical flex, the vertical compliance in this wheels is so low. So for example, if you're riding along and you drop off a curb, it's a bam, you feel it go straight through the bike. And again, like if there's some rumble strips on the road, in China they put these rumble strips on to let you know your speed, like, you know, you feel the speed before you get to a corner. These really upset the bike just because the wheels just can't absorb it. I do think it's a wheel thing, not a frame thing, because I swapped the wheels out to some CRW wheels, which were lighter and not as crazy stiff, and the bike rode much, much better in my opinion. I've not ridden it with the fulcrums, which I think is what Trigon spec it with, but again, I think it might ride better as well. So these wheels, they're not unrideable, they don't shake your teeth out. I mean, you got 28mm tires on there, which is going to take out the small bumps, but like the bigger bumps, they just go straight through the wheels, straight into the bike and straight into your ass. So we're fortunate in Xiamen that all the roads are super nice, but when you do occasionally hit a bump, you feel it with these wheels. So the wheels, they look cool. But unless you're on silky smooth roads and unless you're 100% confident with hookless, they may not be for you. And now we get to like the elephant in the room, the price. So I think I need to preempt this by saying, you know, I don't sell this bike, I'm not paid to make this video, I don't get any commission or kickback or anything, so this is literally just my opinion. I've been lent this bike, it's not even my bike to keep, and yeah, I've been riding it for 6 months, but this bike, not even with these wheels, so these wheels are an expensive option as well, I think. This bike with the fulcrum wheels, I believe the retail price is $8,990 US. So nearest makes no difference, $9,000. Now yes, it does have Dura Ace, and yes, it's got an integrated bar, and yes, Sella Italia saddle, and nice bar tape, and all this high-end stuff, but yeah, $9,000 is a huge amount of money. Now, because of the big brands going crazy, you know, you can say that an SLA S-Works is now like $14,000 US, and you know, like $15-ish thousand is now becoming the norm, so maybe $10,000-ish is a bargain, but still, I think Trigon, you know, they're not a household name yet, and yeah, $9,000 is a lot of money. I think the frame set alone is like $4,000 and something, and so, you know, that gives you a better idea then because you're not putting Dura Ace in there, but $4,000 is for the frame, the fork, and the handlebar. I think that's more reasonable maybe. If you compare it to the mainland Chinese stuff, so let's think about, you got something like Windspace T1500 with the handlebar is usually around like $1,700 US. You got something like a Seeker with a handlebar. I think the top of the line one is around $2,500 maybe. So you're talking $4,000. So double the price of the mainland Chinese stuff, but then maybe it's half the price of the Western stuff. But yeah, so like the frame set I just mentioned is like $4,045 US. An S-Works SL8 frame is like $5,500. So yeah, you're really close to like S-Works money, right? And so yeah, that puts me in a weird place to give the final verdict on this bike. I love this bike. So yeah, I don't have a whole bunch of experience on disc brake road bike yet. You guys know me, I'm a rim brake fanboy, but I've ridden quite a lot at this point. I've not ridden as much long term, you know, I've got my 3T Strada and stuff, but this is my favorite disc brake road bike to date. The whole bike, as you see it here, without pedals, is like 6.8 kilos, which again is like back in the day UCI rim brake weight limit. So you've got a great weight on there. You're not getting that much penalized for the disc brakes. It handles amazingly. It feels stiff. It looks amazing. It's different, yeah. You know, so you go on a group ride these days and everyone's on an S-Works. So to show up on something different, in my opinion, has some value to it as well. The attention to detail's great. You've got the dimples in it, all this stuff. It's my favorite disc brake road bike I've ridden so far, but would I pay $9,000 for the bike, or would I pay $4,000 for the frame? I don't know. I wish I could keep this bike, and I'd also love to sell these on Panda Podium because I think it's a great product, but I don't think we'd sell that many just because they're so expensive. But if you've got the money, if money isn't that tight to you, and if you're looking at this and you want something different, I don't think you'll regret it. Like if you are there looking at money and you know, oh, should I stretch a bit to it? I'm not sure. But if you want a bike that is a great bike, this is definitely it. If they could get the frame set down to like $3,000 US and the complete bike down to like $7,000 US, or give us like an Ultegra version, yeah, I'm all on board. It would be a lot easier to say go for it. So yeah, in conclusion, it's a great bike. It is the best disc brake road bike I've ever ridden, but it's a lot of money and I'm not sure if it's worth the money. So leave that with you guys. You guys make the decision. Let me know in the comments down below. Do you think it's worth the money? Yeah, obviously money is of different value to different people, so I can't tell you whether it's worth it or not, but I'd love to know what you think, so let me know in the comments down below. If you've made it this far through the video, I'd love it if you could give the video a like. If you're not subscribed to the channel yet, make sure you subscribe. I do lots of bike stuff, reviews and first looks and everything, so hop in so you miss that. I'm sending this back to Trigon on Monday and I am devastated. I say that genuinely, like this is one of the bikes I wish I could keep. And yeah, I'll miss it for sure. So yeah, bye bye Trigon. I love you.